Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to OptimizEvony. Uh, Here with the final installment of the free general gear sets for your different type generals. So, we've already done the ground, mount, archer general, and I know you guys have all been waiting. A bunch of people have been asking me about siege. So here, finally, I was able to get to that siege video. So yeah, in this video, we'll talk about all the different combinations of free gear that you can use on your siege general. Which again, as a reminder, the free gear, what we're considering there is it's going to either be the ARIES gear, or it's going to be the Archae gear. I'm not including any gear that is only available in any of the Civ gear, so any of the gear that's only available for purchase or through like the Taish's wheel or any of the additional wheels that they might add in the future. So yeah, this is mostly geared towards free-to-play or mostly free-to-play players. And yeah, let's get into trying to set up your siege gen correctly. And real quick before we talk about that, let's talk about what siege is actually used for. Siege is used as an attack vehicle, primarily if you're using a siege gen here. You'll be using a siege rally. Some players will also do siege solos. It's a little trickier to do a siege solo than a siege rally, but if you have really good buffs and you don't mind healing or rebuilding siege, you can also do siege solos. I also see siege primarily used in battlefield where the cost of repairing and or rebuilding is less of a thing, but you can also see it in SVS where you can heal those as well. But the reason why you use siege is very powerful at targeting the enemy siege. So if you have really good siege buffs and you send a march of siege attacking an enemy, they're going to be attacking all of the enemy, but they'll mostly connect with the siege of the enemy. And so since your buffs will uh, hopefully be higher than the buffs that you're attacking, you are going to be able to do more damage to the enemy siege than the enemy siege is going to do to you. And so it's a good way of weakening the opponent by taking out their siege, so that can make them very vulnerable to a big archer attack or archer rally, and and eventually clean up some very big players. Um, and so, yeah, primarily people will attack with either T11 siege or which is called small siege, or T13 or T13 T14 siege, which would be called big siege. And the reason why people are doing that is based on the siege ranges of the different tiers of troops. Siege is one of the, I think actually the only troop that has different range for the different tiers, and they had implemented that a while back because people were basically the game was kind of broke because people were able to attack with T1 siege and do damage to the enemy, and basically it was very easy for them to heal or replace, but it was almost impossible to defend against if you didn't have the kind of the right composition. So they kind of changed that. They added different siege range levels for different troops, and so you can kind of go in and actually look through. If you go into your siege or your workshop, you can click in and see the actual range here. This will be different for different levels of troops. So yeah, that's different than what it was for the T12s or whatever else I was building. But yeah, let's actually get back to the to the gear. That's really what I wanted to focus on. So here with the siege, again we're looking for set bonuses, uh, and the main set bonuses that we're looking for are the 2 of 6 for both of them. For Ares, attacking troop attack 15%, and then for Archae, the all troop attack 10%. Both of those are 2 of 6. You might find that you might be wondering why I don't have a 2 of 6 set here. Because in all the other videos I kind of prioritized having a 2 of 6 set in either Ares or Archae gear. And the reason I don't have it here is that it really isn't beneficial in either case. Ground troop and mountain troop attack and defense on monsters, that's not useful for a siege gen. So there's really no use getting to that 4 of 6 level, and I like the buffs of kind of this 3 and 3 set better than a 4 and 2 set of either way. And so unless you're using your siege gen for attacking bosses, which I wouldn't attack bosses with siege, because you'll have wounded siege, which cost gems and stone to revive or to heal, as opposed to other troops that go directly into your hospital. But yeah, so I'm doing a 3 and 3 set, 3 Ares, the ARIES Axe, which gives you siege machine attack, marching siege machine HP. That's important. Enemy range troop defense, range troop defense plus 30%, and enemy range troop HP minus 33%. So the reason why I like this ARIES Axe a little bit better than the Archae Axe, one is you have the marching siege machine HP, which I don't think that the ARIES Axe does have. We'll take a look in a second. But then also the enemy range troop HP here. So I kind of talked about how siege will target siege first. The other usage of siege is for attacking once the siege is gone from the enemy, and trying to kill their range troop attacks to soften them up for a mount rally or mount clear. And so lowering that range troop HP is definitely a good thing there. Let's quickly look at some at the Archae Axe. Should have one here, yeah. So yeah, this one has the siege machine attack, but then doesn't have any other siege buffs or really any debuffs that are important. It does have a little bit more range troop HP debuffs, but that's not worth giving up your marching siege HP. So definitely go for the ARIES Axe. The Archae Axe is not worth it in this extent. So then for I guess we'll talk about all the ARIES gear first. So for the boots, go with the Courageous ARIES boots. This one is really the only boots that have any siege buffs here. So this has the siege machine HP plus 22%. That's really the only boots that really have anything, only free boots that have anything for siege. So definitely use these ones here. A side benefit here is that if you're defending from a siege rally and you flip your siege gen onto the wall, this also has a siege in-city siege machine attack here. Not super useful for your attacking, but could be situationally beneficial there. And then the other ARIES gear is the Fearless ARIES helmet. This is also the one that we used for the range troop general as well, but as you can see, this also has siege machine attack here. and that's again really the only thing that's useful here, but the only uh, it's the only helmet that has the Siege Machine attack here, so we're also going to use it here. Then for the chest, you can use the Courageous Archae armor, which gives you Siege Machine attack, Siege Machine defense, and then enemy Siege Machine attack and enemy Mount Troop defense. And so obviously the Siege Machine attack and defense is super critical, but then also the enemy Siege Machine attack debuff is kind of nice here, because again you're targeting the enemy troop siege, and so debuffing their attack is going to be helpful. And this is particularly helpful in rallies where you're not going to be having your sub buffs, because Siege Machine attack debuff is actually super easy to get. Most people are capped out to like 2,000, 3,000%, whatever, because it's in so many different pieces. But when you're rallying, you don't get those sub debuffs. So this is nice to have here. And then for the leg armor, I like the Fearless Archae leg armor. It gives you again Siege Machine attack here, and then enemy range troop defense debuff and enemy Siege Machine attack debuff. Again, those debuffs are kind of nice in the rally, and that gives you the two of the areas for your set bonus there. And then for the ring, the Courageous Archae ring gives you Siege Machine attack, enemy range troop attack. It's kind of nice, not super important, but and then the siege attack range. And siege range is super important, because basically you want to be able to be attacking the enemy troops as soon as they can attack you, or ideally before they can attack you, so that you can do more damage before they can attack you and kill your troops. So the Siege Machine attack range gives you a little bit extra bonus, extra range where your troops can attack, and so that's very important to have on your siege gen. So let's talk a little bit about what different combos you can have here, because there are some pieces that you can flip out. So let's look at the first the ring, because you can actually, there is basically a very similar ring here. The Courageous Ares ring has siege attack, enemy range troop defense, and then the range. So basically the exact same, but is debuffing the range troop defense. So this one actually might be a touch better than the ring that I had, just because it's debuffing the range troop defense rather than the range troop attack, where when you're doing a siege rally, the range troop attack doesn't really come into play a ton, because by the time you get in range, your siege is going to die pretty quickly anyways. So you're mostly doing your attacks before you get into range of the range troop and the mount troop and ground. But debuffing the range troop defense is actually really good. So this is a serious contender. You could flip this out for that Archae ring. So then for the legs, there's also one that gives you siege attack here, but no defenses, no enemy debuff or anything like that. So again, I would go with the Archae Gear here. And then for the chest, this has nothing for siege, and this one also has nothing for siege, so I certainly would not recommend doing anything there. Let's actually take one more look at the legs. Yeah, okay, that one's the mount legs. There's nothing important there. So yeah, I guess kind of coming back to here, I would say that these 5 are a lock. You should not be changing these 5. The only one that you can switch out, whether you want to or not, is this ring for the Courageous Ares ring. And they're very similar. It's not really gonna make too much of a difference. And so if you're short on materials or anything like that, you might want to just make the Archae ring, because then you don't have to use your badges and your materials to upgrade it as well. But yeah, this is a pretty solid setup, and in my opinion, one of the best. So let me know what you're doing for your siege setup. If you have any questions on what I'm doing. But yeah, and of course you're refining everything to siege here. That's super important, because if you have bad siege buffs and you're joining a siege rally or something like that, your troops are just going to die, and they're not going to do as much damage as they really should. And so it's very important to at least get that axe and the ring done, to try and kill as many of the enemy troops before you kind of get in range and start dying. So yeah, this rounds out the free gear setups that I do for my attacking generals. I hope you like this series. Let me know if you want to see more of this. If you want to see some going into the Civ gear, or if you want to talk about defense general setups, or really what you're interested in hearing next on this. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe, helps me out a ton, and I'll see you next time.